I understand today there was a horrible, horrible accident at SeaWorld was it Florida? In Florida.
Yeah, we just heard that.
Where the animal, I guess it was called Shamu, if I'm wrong, somebody let me know, pulled in and killed the trainer.
Killed or maimed? Killed.
Killed the trainer. Was anybody liable for that? Or do you assume the risk by working as a trainer for a live, quote, what kind of whale is this called?
It's a killer whale.
So if you work in a killer whale operation and you are killed, do you assume the risk of this kind of an injury, and therefore there's no liability except for, there'd be workman's compensation?
I think
probably.
It depends. I think it depends on the facts. I would think that if a person is actually in the water with the animal, and that's part of their job description, that they're assuming that they can, their risk is assumed that they can get killed by this animal because it's a multi-ton eating machine.
But if you sit at a baseball game and a fly ball goes out there and you're eating your Dodger dog at the time and the ball hits you in the head and you're not, quote, on the field of play, you've assumed the risk of getting hit in the head in the ball. A person who's a trainer who's gone out there knows what these animals can do. They're called killer whales. That's part of the assumption of the risk. You may get some workman's comp in some of these stations, compensation, but I don't think you have any third-party liability.
Oh, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Well, there's something that actually, it's interesting how that, because that just happened today. But we've got a race course accident, and I want you to look at this and tell me who's liable for what, who's the plaintiff, who's the defendant, and let's watch. Okay, there's the race going down a street.
Oh!
And where was that guy standing? Let's watch. Where was he standing?
Boom. Let's watch that again.
Could we see it again? There's the race.
Oh. Wow.
All right. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, Steve. I'm looking at this, and you're looking at this, and there's a million of us looking at this. Did it seem to me that one person was standing farther away from the crowd and closer to the actual road that was the track at the time?
Looks like he was standing in the street.
Yeah, which was that's the racetrack at the moment.
So a spectator at an auto race, or a bike race, or a marathon standing alongside of there, or a parade, or an event gets hit by the car, the elephant, the bike, etc. Who's liable?
Well, doesn't the spectator assume the risk for that?
Do you?
Especially if they're standing on the side of a street?
Well, I mean, if you got an elephant going by, I assume you think that you're going to get pooped on, but you assume the risk that you're going to get stepped on?
I think that your hypothetical is sufficiently different that you're going to get a different response.
It's clear in this case that the pedestrian, is he on a pedestrian or is he on a bike?
Oh, he's walking.
He's walking.
Standing, actually.
That there's a possibility in a road race you're going to get hit by a car, and you shouldn't be standing in the roadway. Would it make any difference if he was standing on the sidewalk area or the grassy area and the car spun out of control and hit him on the side?
Fascinating that you would ask me that. I was just going to ask you the same thing. I was going to ask you exactly the same thing. I don't know that it makes a difference.
Is this any difference in the Shamu situation that actually happened where the trainer got dragged in or killed because of the killer whale? You assume when you're at a road race that those cars are going to spin out.
Could happen at any time. Or lose a tire.
Lose a tire. You got to assume they're going to drive on the road.
Two could collide, and one could plow into the crowd.
But you got to assume they're going to drive on the road.
Well, of course.
And that car wasn't even off the road. It was on the racetrack.
It's actually on the road.
So,
I think this is a.
Now, some states don't have assumption of risk, but if this happened in California, I would assume that there would be an assumption of the risk.
I think so too.
If it wasn't an assumption of risk and you got by that problem, we have comparative liability in California, which means maybe the race car was driving inappropriately, but you compare their negligence with you standing in the middle of the raceway, and so in most instances you'd probably get
Let's change. Let's
very
change a
little.
Let's change a little. I'm sorry. Let's change a little bit. It's no longer a Grand Prix on the road race. It's on an oval track, and you're a spectator. The first, second, third, fourth, fifth, I don't care, row, and a tire comes off. One of those tires that's bigger than a person, one of those race car tires, clears the wall and takes you out. Any liability there? You bought your ticket. You paid good money to sit in that seat. You knew when you bought the ticket that you were 3 or 4 or 5, 6 rows from the
Well,
track.
lawyers can make all kinds of arguments. The problem is if the ball player who if you're sitting in the Dodger Stadium eating a Dodger dog and you get hit head in the baseball, that's an inherent risk in baseball. It's an inherent risk in road racing that a tire is going to go off. And that's why millions of Americans sit at home with a Jaeger in their hand and watch these kind of sports in front of television because they don't want to get in that kind of problem.
Usually it's safer.
Yeah, usually.
It depends on who you live with.
Interesting situation, but remember, every case has to be looked at individually. The road race is no different than the baseball game. May be different, may not be different than the Shamu the whale situation. Our courts in California have held assumption of risk in lots of kind of situations.